Joining me now is Eric Mandel, the director of the Middle East Political Information Network. Dr. Mandel, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
You know, the tension and the violence between Israel and Gaza is just continuing. More back and forth strikes between the two today.
Well, this is a multi-leveled situation. You have, number one, the Palestinian Authority doesn't want Israel and Hamas to have a truce because it makes them look bad. Hamas may want a ceasefire, but refuses to make one before this one-year anniversary, which can go out of control. People saying there could be hundreds of thousands of people that's going on here. You have Iran in the background, which would love to light this up. They would love to turn Gaza into another proxy, similar to what they're doing now in Syria. And I think they would like to have missile factories there. And then you have Egypt, which has been brokering and actually been doing a good job as a mediator, and they want quiet because they need Hamas's help, even though Hamas is an arch enemy of theirs because they're part of the Muslim Brotherhood, because they can quiet the jihadists in Sinai. So you have so many different layers of what's going on here. And again, this can get out of control very easily.
Sure. But let's back up a bit. I mean, this started, at least most recently, with these rocket attacks coming from Gaza into central Israel. The first one described as a mistake. The latest one this week, you know, hitting a house just north of Tel Aviv with people inside. I mean, the escalation is clearly there.
Well, the question is, was this a mistake? It's hard to believe it's a mistake. Today, Hamas made a kind of a crazy claim that it said that they were on high preparedness and that it was automated missiles that went off. One missile going off a couple of weeks ago is one thing, but having two missiles go off, you have to remember, just in November, there were nearly 500 missiles that they said, and there have been ceasefires and quiet and going back and forth. Hamas is ultimately responsible. Yes, they're a terrorist organization, but they are the ultimately responsible, even if Palestinian Islamic Jihad, which directly works with Iran. Hamas is responsible, and Hamas also works with Iran.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the Golan Heights. Even before President Trump declared the Golan Heights and a sovereign part of Israel, the tensions between Israel and Gaza were clearly there. Did President Trump make it worse?
You know, this reminds me of a year ago when the Mass March of Returns, one of the things they said was the embassy move got things going. So did the Golan here get things going? No, these are just excuses. People have their own agendas of what's going on. What's going on in Gaza right now is a long-standing problem because of the coup that Hamas made in 2007, that they created a terrorist enclave, the United States, Canada, the Quartet, looks at them as a terrorist organization. They're ultimately, though, in charge, but they're not the existential risk to Israel that Iran and Syria and Lebanon, Hezbollah are. So Israel would like it to be quiet.
Let's talk about the March of Return. I mean, you mentioned it a moment ago how, you know, mass protests are expected. Clashes seem to be inevitable. I mean, do you think, though, that with Israel ramping up its military presence there, that just kind of makes for even more tension?
Well, Israel has to be prepared because they're willing to, in fact, any sovereign nation has to protect its borders. And what they've been doing for now 1 year going towards Israel's borders has been sending incendiary balloons, trying to cut through. This was possibly started by the people of Gaza, but was quickly taken over by Hamas. And so this is ultimately Hamas's responsibility of what's going to go on there. But again, even if Hamas is thinking about having a ceasefire, after this happens, this can blow out of control. But also, what was the massive March return was supposed to be? It wasn't just about Israel's embargo because of their terrorism. They wanted an unlimited right of return of refugees, which was the demographic destruction of Israel. So their demands were beyond reason.
Well, let's hope for calm, even though it seems like that's not likely going to be the case.
What you do is you hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Absolutely. Dr. Eric Mandel, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
On Clearcut.